everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Feast at Home Bay Area District. This is our singles gathering in God. It's our gig for this Monday. But for this episode, we are not just inviting the singles out there, we are also inviting married couples and actually anybody who has a relationship in their life, which means basically everybody. Okay, so again, hi everybody. Welcome. Ito ang ating singles gathering in God. Ito ang ating Monday gig. Welcome. My name is Ariane and I will be your host for today. We have a very special topic for tonight and we're going to be talking about how to maintain healthy relationships. And we have a special guest for you guys. I'm sure a lot of you know him. So I'm going to introduce him later on. But for now, I want to say hi to all of you who are watching right now. Brothers and sisters, hello. Let me know in the comment section where are you watching us from. Sige, para naman malaman ko kung nasan kayo sa Pilipinas or sa mundo. Maybe you're out of the country or in another place. The beauty of this pandemic, despite all of the craziness, is that we can still connect with one another and we can still be one community despite the distance, despite the social distance. So let me know in the comment section, nasan kayo? Where are you watching us from right now? And also, may I invite you guys to share this link. Syempre, kailangan nating ispread ang ating gig for tonight. Tag your LG mates, by the way. I-tag nyo sila sa comment section para, hoy, tara, Monday gig na, let's go. You know, for those of us who are still in the Metro Manila NCR Plus bubble, most of us are still working from home, although some of us are going outside to work. Wherever you are right now, I think it's still very important for us to stay connected, to reach out to one another. So again, I invite you guys to share this link, share this video on your timeline, or copy the link and then share it sa inyong mga group chats, sa family, sa friends, sa co-workers, sa mga ka-LG, and to those of you who have already attended Love Life Retreat, then itag na rin yung mga kabatchmate nyo sa LLR para naman kahit online, tara mag-gather tayo. And also, this is gonna be a special episode kasi interactive talaga tayo ngayon. So later on, we're gonna be asking you to please send in your questions. So ngayon pa lang, pag-isipan nyo na, what are your questions regarding how to maintain healthy relationships? Or if you have any specific questions or may pinagdadaanan kayo, tara, talk to us. You know, napakahalaga na meron tayong nakakausap. At dahil meron tayong magaling, mabait at bonggang guest, siya ay narito mamaya para sagutin ang ating mga katanungan. Sabihin ko na, si Brother George Gabriel will be here this evening. Exciting! Woo! Ayan. So guys, ask Brother George. So yun ang ating ganap for tonight. Ask Brother George. Let's ask him and let's talk about it. Pag-usapan natin yung mga how to maintain healthy relationships, especially now that there is a pandemic going on. Okay. So now, let me say hello to you guys. Hi, hi, hi. Si Sean Marcelo, hello everyone daw. Patrick Mapano watching us from YouTube. Hi, hi Patrick. Si Arvin, hey brother Arvin. Good PM, sis Ariane. Park Boyong, ayan. Korean novela daw ako. I'm watching from Parañaque City. Hello Parañaque. Si Patrick ay nanonood mula sa Santa Rosa, Laguna. Hey, Brother Patrick. Si Steph D, ayan, suki natin to. Watching from Laguna. Hello. Ayan, marami-rami tayong mga taga south of Luzon. Eto, south talaga. General Santos. Jeremy JS. Hi, Jeremy. From Los Baños, Laguna. Eto, si Jason Balota. Hi, good evening po, mga bro. Si Sean ay nanonood from Makati. Si Angel is watching us right now from Parañaque. Charina is joining us from Santa Rosa, Laguna. Ayan, marami tayong mga taga-Laguna this evening. Hello to Sis Pat Morales, watching from Quezon City. Woohoo! Marami-rami nga ang mga taga-Laguna. Ay, si Jingjing. Ayan, gusto ko to si Jingjing. Ang dami niyang tinatag. Thank you. Thank you for that. Sabi ni Hazel Lizada, hi everyone. Hello, sis Hazel. Ayan. So, guys, alam nyo ba, guess what? What? It's already May. It's another month. Can you believe it? May 3. Yes, it's May 3. Parang kumurap lang tayo. Nagpalit na naman yung buwan. That is so amazing. And to those of you who are healthy and alive and kicking and working, congratulations. Wow, it's such a blessing to be alive right now, to be healthy. And also, since kakatapos lang ng Labor Day, sa lahat ng mga manggagawa, sa ating mga single professionals dyan, sa lahat ng nagtatrabaho at kumakayod para sa pamilya, saludo po kami sa inyo. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Yehey! Mabuhay sa inyong lahat. Lyra is watching us from Cubao, Quezon City. Chris, hi sis Chris, watching from Navotas. Uy, meron tayong viewer from Burauen, Leyte. Mira Luna Nunez. Hello, sis. Watching from Iloilo, si Joy Noemi Amihan. Hello sa mga taga Iloilo. Sabi ni Steph D, we're about 1/3 done with this year. Can you believe it? I feel like New Year has just flown by. Tapos, whoa, summer na. And ayan, May na tayo. Naku, before you know it, magpapasko na ulit. But wait lang po. Okay, so again, this is our gathering in God for tonight. Ito ang ating gig. So thank you for joining us this evening. We hope that wherever you are, you're doing safe and healthy with your family or with your friends and coworkers. Kung nasan man kayo, sana kayo ay ligtas. Again, we're inviting you to share this link. Share this video on your timeline. Tag your friends in the comment section. Tag your LG mates. And let's have a gig together. Chill lang to. Magkukwentuhan lang tayo with our very, very special guest, Brother George Gabriel. So, sa mga Feast Bay area, suki natin dyan. Kung namimiss nyo na si Brother George, tara, this is the time we can ask him our questions and he will be here to talk to us about how to maintain healthy relationships. Si Julian Marie Sismar, watching us from Digos City. Hello! Good evening sa inyong lahat. So again, this show is not just for the singles, not just for the single professionals, but also couples and mga newly married, especially. Pwede rin kayo dito. Pwede natin pag-usapan yan. Hindi lang to pang single tonight. So anyone and everyone who has relationships, not just romantic ones, you are invited to join us this evening. All right, Daisy Lynn from Nueva Ecija, from Gimba. Hello. Uy, may isa pa tayong taga Santa Rosa, Laguna, Vea Sario. Alam mo, feeling ko, pag wala ng pandemic, pwedeng magtagpo-tagpo itong mga taga Santa Rosa, Laguna natin. Hello, singles. Okay. So again, welcome everybody. Welcome to Feast at Home Bay Area District. This is our Monday show. This is our gathering in God. And today we are talking about how to maintain healthy relationships. And our guest for this evening is going to be Brother George Gabriel. But before we move on any further, let us first ask God for his guidance. So brothers and sisters, may I invite you to join us in our opening worship.
You're loving in all your ways, gracious through all my days, faithful in all you say. Jesus, you never fail. Mountains bow at your feet, oceans part when you speak, beauty forms when you breathe. Jesus, you never fail. I believe in your word. I believe in your promise. I believe your plans that I can't yet see. You're stronger than any storm, sovereign above it all, reigning forevermore. Jesus, you never fail. I believe in your word. I believe in your promise. I believe you reveal your plans that I can't yet see. I believe in your ways. I believe in your goodness. I believe you'll complete the work you began in me. In trial or triumph, in sickness or strength, in end and beginning, you will never fail. In drought or abundance, in loss or in gain, in seasons of waiting, you will never fail. In trial or triumph, in sickness or strength, in end and beginning, you will never fail. In drought or abundance, in loss or in gain, in seasons of waiting, you will never fail. I believe in your word. I believe in your promise. I believe you reveal your plans that I can't yet see. I believe in your ways. I believe in your goodness. I believe you'll complete the work you began in me. I believe in your word. I believe in your promise. I believe you reveal your plans that I can't yet see. I believe in your ways. I believe in your goodness. I believe you'll complete the work you began in me.
Thank you so much to our talented and really amazing worship team, wherever you are right now. Palakpakan nyo naman sila. Woohoo! Thank you so much. And again, to those of you who have just joined us, good evening, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Feast at Home Bay Area District. This is our Monday gig, our gathering in God. So again, may I invite you guys, sa mga nanonood right now, please share this link, share this video on your timeline. Let's invite people to join us this evening. For all of us who are still in the middle of the pandemic, I think it's very important for us to connect with one another and to reach out to our friends, our co-feasters, our family. So Tag them in the comment section. Tag your siblings, cousins, office workers, co-workers rather, your LG mates, your co-feasters, yung mga namimiss nyo na makita yung mukha, and anybody whom you will think will benefit from hearing a message about how to maintain healthy relationships. Okay, so again, saying hello to everybody who is watching us right now. Thank you for joining us. All right, wag na nating patagalin pa. Now, let me introduce to you our guest for this evening. He is a longtime friend of the Light of Jesus family. He's a former feast builder, a director, a writer, a worship leader, and also a former single man. But he is now 10 years happily married and lives in Melbourne, Australia with his wife, Dinah, and their two children, Anton and Andy. Please welcome Brother George Gabriel.
Hello everybody. Hello FBA singles and may mga married din pala, no? So hello everyone.
Yeah.
Hi Arian. How are
Hi,
you?
Brother George. Doing great despite being in lockdown pa rin. Kumusta po dyan sa Melbourne, Australia?
Okay naman. Honestly we're blessed that the COVID cases are practically zero here, or kung
Wow.
meron man once in a while there's a new one. But then yeah, they've been able to control it. So we're really happy about that. But at the same time, obviously our heart breaks and bleeds for everyone back home, and we're really praying for everyone. Seriously, praying for everyone back home. I know a lot of you are struggling with the situation, and we don't forget. And we're one in spirit with everyone back home, and we believe that God's gonna see all of us through. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And knowing that on your side of the planet, things are already better, it gives us hope that at some point,
Yes.
eventually, hopefully through God's grace, we will also be able to come out of the pandemic as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Hallelujah.
All right. So, brothers and sisters, sa mga nanonood ngayon, pwede kayong mag-type in ng question nyo sa ating comment section. Mababasa namin yan ni Brother George. Mababasa ko rin yan. Tapos, pwede nating pag-usapan kung ano yung inyong questions regarding how to maintain a healthy relationship. Kasi syempre, maraming nagbago sa dynamics natin ngayon, and also nasa pandemic pa tayo, nasa lockdown pa karamihan, or baka meron lang talaga pinagdadaanan at kailangan nyo ng kausap, ito na yun. Or kung friend nyo ako, pwede nyo i-DM sa akin. Okay, so, Brother George, are you ready?
Yes, I am. And before we start, magpapasensya lang. Hingi akong paumanhin because medyo I just came out of a cold and etc. So I might be drinking some water while or coughing a little bit while we talk.
No problem po.
Don't worry,
Tama
hindi
po
naman
ba
kayo
na medyo
magagalit sa akin.
winter na po ba dyan? Malamig na ba sa Australia?
It's autumn, all right? So it's autumn
Autumn.
already. So it's lumalamig na. Hindi pa yung talagang malamig pa. Mga 2 more months before it really gets cold. But can I share something? You know what? 4
Sure.
years ago, exactly 4 years ago, on this day, May 3, I arrived in Melbourne. Exactly 4 years ago. I
Wow!
left. I left at 10 p.m. May 2. Then effectively, I arrived on May 3 in the morning. So it's a special day for me. And yun lang, sharing ko lang.
Happy
Kakapost ko lang
anniversary!
kanina, oo. Mm.
Woohoo! And I
Yeah,
believe na, again, syempre, pinlano ni Lord to na, May 3, it's a milestone for you, George. So,
amen.
tara at balikan natin ang mga singles at ang mga new
Oo
couples
nga.
sa Bay Area. Let's
Mm.
share and let's talk to them. Okay, so Brother George, my first question for you is, right now we are in the middle of a pandemic. How important is it to nurture relationships?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, before the pandemic, I feel that people have gotten used to not meeting up in person because it's so easy to do it over chat, or especially the younger generation, they're not used to making phone calls anymore. Like if you call them, parang oh big deal ata to, gusto nila message, di ba? Gusto nila IM lang, or they probably don't use email anymore, but but that and I always used to say it's important that you meet up in person. Now make no mistake, I was very busy with ministry, and I'm probably not the greatest at meeting up, but I do acknowledge that nothing beats a face-to-face conversation. The irony is, now that we were in the pandemic, and especially in countries like back home or in other countries where you still have to maintain social distancing, all the more naman naging importante that you stay connected, online, and all the more it became more prevalent. So what am I trying to say? It's funny. I called a friend a while yesterday, a very good friend of mine on her birthday, because nowadays I realize, well, I find that I have my hands full here all the time, with the kids and with chores, when the kids fall asleep, that sometimes I don't have time to send messages, and I realize that a 1 or 2 minute phone call is ca- can mean so much more to someone, and will actually consume less time on my part, because I won't have to monitor and back and forth. And then the person gets to see you. And sometimes, if you call someone, you have the urge to call someone, you call them up, it could break the length of, let's say, not being able to talk for 1 month into 2 weeks and 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Or in 1 year, naka 6 months instead of 1 year. If you get what I'm trying to say. In other words, yeah, it's important, make an effort, and I do really recommend do a phone call. So when I pick up my son Anton every day from school, it's a 15-minute walk from my house to his school. I try my best to call someone that I haven't called in a long time, uh, and during a for a 10-minute phone call. And yeah, it's not the longest conversation, but it's better for me rather than, you know, for me at least, messaging. And Ariane, I just want to clarify tonight. I don't really consider this advice. It's more of this is
Mm-hmm.
what works for me, and it's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's my personal experience. So there, yeah, I think keeping in touch and hearing someone's voice and seeing them, is far better than sending a message. So that's my opinion, at least. If you can, it's a lot better. Yeah.
If you would allow us to get a little bit more personal, since it is a very important date for you when you arrived in Australia, may we ask, how has your relationship with your family changed when you
Oh.
moved to Australia from the Philippines? First, your relationship with the family that's directly around you, and next, your relationship with your family that is still back home
Okay.
in the Philippines.
First of all, my family here, um, I, I wouldn't trade this situation for anything right now, because um, okay, there's something about you guys being on your own, especially with my kids, that it's constantly us that they see, that has really forged a deeper relationship with them. Now, my I'm thankful that throughout the 4 years we've been here, my family, both sides, my wife's family and my family, they got to visit, so they still know our families very, very well. But then majority of the time, kami yung kasama niya ngayon. Hindi ka, and I really think it's done wonders for us. Yes, there were times when, like, especially during the pandemic, where there were weeks and months where the worst of me came out, because cabin fever, and talagang the kids are fighting all the time. But for me, that's the exception. The bigger part of it really is that I really feel they know me and I know them. Um, it's and so, as far as my wife and I are concerned, we celebrated our 10th anniversary last few weeks ago, last month, April 9th.
Woohoo!
And yeah, and we've come to realize also that really love is a choice, man. Love is a decision. Certain things came out, or surfaced in our relationship, that only not only would have happened, but I attribute to us being on our own. You know, it contributed a lot. Um, a lot of fights actually surfaced,
Ooh.
but obviously from those fights you make amends, and you get to know each other more and discover even more things about each other. So yeah, we're in a fantastic place right now, and I'm like my daughter. I feel I'm the man nowadays around my 3-year-old daughter. Every night she comes out, she nakahiga na siya sa kama, she'll still come out to ask for water, but I know she's making an excuse just to be with me and cuddle with me. Parang
Aw.
sobrang saya, and it's yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, we've grown so much closer together. The only prayer we had when we moved here was growth. Okay, we wanted to grow. We wanted to grow in territory and in skill and in life skills, and just finding what God could do through us and in us. But we also wanted to grow inward, closer as a family, and that's definitely happened. In terms of my family back home, it's funny because we we actually, I think we might even be talking more now. Kasi
Wow.
before, yeah, because before we would see each other every week. We would either go Sunday or Saturday and see them. Um, but now, knowing that you're not gonna see them physically, my sister is really great at keeping in touch, and she calls my children, like, if there was a time she'd call almost every day, and so we would be able to talk, so often. Now, admittedly, may mga lag din once in a while, but yeah, we've learned to appreciate each other in a different way. And I was able to go home last year after 3 years, and it was fantastic. All right, it was it iba, I guess. Iba talaga yung when you're separated for a long time, then you see each other, and you spend more quality time together. I'm having conversations with my siblings, like, on a iba, parang, it's, how do I say it? But because you're apart, you make the most of the time you have together, or when you were able to connect. So yeah, yeah, yeah. And then obviously may family thread, and talagang keeping in touch with those things. Although ako mahina din ako sa thread, so my wife updates me a lot of times. But yeah, it's been great, and very thankful for how God has brought us closer, despite and in spite, or maybe even because of this situation.
I think in this situation, very applicable yung absence makes the heart grow fonder for this one. And I can relate to that because I have a brother who moved to with his family to New Zealand, and I I can totally relate to calling every day because I call my nephew, I miss him. We still play via video call. So in that case, thanks to technology, we can still really connect with one another. My next question is: you mentioned that you've just celebrated 10 years of marriage. Congratulations, by the way. We want to ask, like for me personally, since I'm newly married, and for the newly married couples out there, and for those who are thinking about getting married, sa mga singles din natin dyan, what do you think? Oh, I know for sure there's gonna be so many dimensions and answers to this, but to put it simply, what do you think is the secret to lasting 10 years of marriage?
Ang dami. Ang dami.
Let's make an essay.
but
Maybe you
but
can boil it down to a three or one.
yeah, I think it really is, maybe the first is communication, really. It sounds very cliche or trite, but a lot of the fights I think I've been in with my wife, or we've had, could have been avoided if I just gave more effort in communicating more clearly. Now, the irony is, my job, my 10 years, I was a communicator, okay, in media, and I made sure I'm very good at communicating messages on the big, on the big screen, on the big stage, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe even writing or in a video. But I've discovered that sometimes I assume the other person already knows what I'm thinking. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll talk a little more about this towards the end. But then I think if we just make an effort to make sure our message is received, and also to send the right message, or to express ourselves, and keep the person in the loop, kumbaga. Kasi dalawa na lang kayo, di ba? You're only two in the relationship, and sometimes we still fail to keep the other person in the loop. You know what I mean? What am I saying? You go ahead with certain decisions without it's not that you're asking for approval, but you're
Mhm.
a team, so you run it by the other person, asking the person for their input, your partner, or making sure that it's all right with your partner. All right. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm used to saying partner because here not everyone is married, so you
Ah,
don't just
right.
say your wife, your husband. You don't assume that the person,
Mhm.
So but for those of you who are boyfriend girlfriend, yeah, you're not married
Yeah.
yet. Number one really is communication, I think. And probably the second is, I'll keep it short, is really dying to yourself.
Ooh.
um yeah, well, my when I got married, one of the richest couples I know in my life, and who also have a successful marriage, I went to them and I said, "Oh, Tito, how much do I have to save before I get married? I'm scared that I don't have enough."
Mhm.
And you know what he said? He goes, this is a wealthy man, a very successful man. He goes, "George, you're you you will never have enough money. You'll never be able to say, I have enough money to get married and to start, a married life.
Mhm.
The only requirement," he goes, "the only requirement to get married is for you to give up your single ways." That's the only requirement.
Oh.
Because, as a friend of mine named Mark Lopez so wisely said, once you get married, there is no more you, there is no more him or her, there is only you and him. Or once you get married, when you got married, George, sabi niya, there was no more George. And there's no more Dinah. Dinah ceased to exist. George ceased to exist. And now there is only George and Dinah because you're one.
Mm.
And he only told that to me last year, and that blew my mind because I never saw it. I know the concept of being one, but yung hindi na kayo known as separate is just really wow. I love that. And you cannot do that if you don't die to yourself and if you're not willing to give up your single identity. So to be honest, a lot of us are rushing into marriage or waiting for marriage or wanting to get married, and
Mhm.
when it's gonna happen, I think the best thing you can ask yourself first is, are you willing to give up your single ways? Because there's a difference between you might end up being a married single. Ganun na lang. Now,
Married single.
you're
Ooh.
married, but you're still living a single life. And you know what? If
Mhm.
you're not willing to do that, it really can breed resentment. You might end up resenting your partner and feeling that the partner is limiting you or restricting you from doing these things that you love. You know what? Sometimes it's even God's calling for you. Sometimes it's even ministry. And you might think, pero para kay Lord to, or this is my passion, or these are the things that bring me joy. I don't think God ever wants you to give those things up totally. But the question is, where do you put them in the perspective and in the context of your married life? Because when you signed up for marriage, you did say nothing comes before you, and that is something that you will not learn overnight, not in 1, 2, not even 10 years. It's a constant, constant, constant struggle and constant learning of how to say, okay, this is me, but how can I put my spouse be, before all of this? Because we are one, and
Mhm.
it has not. And I think if you are able to do that, then yeah, you'll have you'll have a successful marriage, and you can even start practicing that as boyfriend girlfriend. But it's different because you haven't made that vow yet. Boyfriend
Mhm.
girlfriend, still get out of it. Boyfriend girlfriend, I think in this time is you're trying to discover yourself
Mhm.
and share and reveal to the other person, this is who I am, so that when we do tie the knot, you know what you're getting. There's no surprises. Of course, meron at meron parang lilitaw. Obviously, it's different when you live with someone. But how are you willing to give up your single identity and say that from now on it's the two of us already? And yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it took me a long time to learn that, which is why I delayed getting married, because I realized in my former relationships I was just being single and I was taking the other person along on my adventure. Tara, sama ka sa adventure ko.
Hmm.
And I realized, wait a minute, this isn't working. And so I took a break from my relationships. And finally, when I said, Lord, I'm ready to share my life with someone, I'm ready to be one with someone and share this journey together. That's the only time that I started pursuing again. And the person I pursued ended up to be my wife.
Wow! Yee, kilig. So I hope that yung mga single na nakikinig right now, take notes. Are you willing to give up your single ways if you do plan on getting married? And baka meron sa inyong mga may jowa, may boyfriend or girlfriend right now, i-analyze niyo yung partner niyo. Kung parang feeling niyo papalapit na kayo sa kasal. Okay, tong partner ko ba, tong boyfriend, girlfriend ko ba, willing ba 'to na i-let go yung kanyang mga pamumuhay bilang single and kung sakaling ikasal man kami. So magandang pang-filter at pang-analyze 'to. Thank you so much for that, Brother George. And I want to say shout out to Marlon. Hi Marlon. Yee, love you.
Hey Arya, I just wanna pahabol lang dun sa sinabi ko.
Sure po. Go.
If you're not willing to give up
Mhm.
your single ways, don't feel guilty either. It just means you're not ready
No.
yet.
Okay.
It just means you're not ready yet, but be honest, you know. And if
Mhm.
you're in a relationship right now, sometimes we're afraid to break up with a person kasi bibiyak yung puso niya and it's ano, and obviously, but to tell you, if you look at it objectively, breaking up in itself is actually could be saving you from more pain later on.
True.
And I'm not saying break up with the person now. Sorry, I baka bad example, but what I'm trying to say is that also don't stay in a relationship just because you're afraid of hurting the person or you're afraid of being alone.
Mm.
That might, that might not be the best reason also to stay in it. But if you're not willing to give up your single ways, then be honest with yourself, be honest and embrace it. I'm not ready yet for married life. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're not a bad
Mhm.
person just because you want to stay single. Um, what's worse is if you do get into a commitment, but you're not willing to die for the other person. Um,
I
and
agree.
I really believe people turn the corner eventually. You ripen when the time is right, you know? When the time is right and when you are ripe, it'll happen. Okay.
In connection to that, we have one of our audience submitted questions prior to the show. The question goes, if I should remain single for the rest of my life, how could I be, in a way, a blessing to others? And how could I give honor and glory to Father Almighty since I am destined if I'm destined to get married. Oh wait, so there's two parts to this question. First is for those people who feel like their path is for singlehood. Single bless not single blessedness, but like single for the rest of their lives, which is totally okay. How can they be a blessing to others? For those who want to, if they feel like, okay, mukhang malayo-layo pa bago ako ikasal, hindi malayo pa, hindi pa ako ready, or feeling ko parang hindi yun yung path para sa akin. Ano kayang pwede po
Okay.
nilang gawin?
So you're asking if they believe they're meant to be single, for single blessedness, what can they
Yes.
do to bless the world?
Yeah. And be a blessing to
Okay.
others.
uh, geez, my quick answer there is to just share your gift. Um, eh, God has not given any of us anything that was not meant to be shared. um, Even your relationship with your spouse, in as much as it is yours, it was meant still for God's love to overflow through that into the world and to be an inspiration, to be a blessing, to be strength for other people. You know what I mean? So, same way with you, just think of it. Everything you have in your life, whether it be money, time, talent, or treasure, everything God meant for you to share that to bless the world. That's what I believe as a Christian. And it doesn't mean that you give your time 100% to everyone. You need time for yourself to build yourself and all. And it also doesn't mean that everyone sasagutin mo na lang, all the emails, texts, or lahat na lang ng invitation kasi God meant my time to be shared. No, we don't take it to that extent. What I'm trying to say is that you were meant to be a channel of blessing to begin it with. And the time, the talent, and the treasure that you have were entrusted to you. All right, we're stewards. Remember, we're only stewards, and the reason why we know we're stewards is because we can't take any of it to the grave. It was only entrusted to us by God in this temporary moment of life. It may seem like 100 years to us, or 90, or 70, or 80 years to us, but it's a blink to God, diba? It's just a moment to God that He entrusted these things to you. Use them to bless the world. To be honest and authentic, and bless God. Now, I will say that it doesn't even have to be in ministry. Being a banker, being a doctor, being a being an Uber driver, being a carpenter, whatever gift God has given you, if you are authentic and you offer it in love, oh man, you're a blessing. Automatically, you're a blessing. People may not notice, you may not make the headlines, no one may post about you, or no one may know what you're doing even. That doesn't mean you're not blessing the world. You can be a silent blessing, which would be just as powerful as anyone who is on TV, or speaking to 20,000 people. I seriously believe that. I don't believe that God says this guy's a bigger blessing because he's doing it in ministry for thousands of people. No, not at all. Because he didn't give you that gift. He gave you your gifts. Use the gift, be authentic, give it in love. You're a blessing.
Beautiful. Be a silent blessing to others. That's a great reminder for all of the singles listening right now. And again, we're inviting you, please share this video. And somebody might need to hear these messages, and somebody just might need someone to talk to. By the way, speaking of someone to talk to, Steph D, one of our viewers right now, chatted and commented, Brother George, any motivational tips po for those singles waiting for a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Motivational tips daw po, Brother George.
Um, my tip, motivational tip. Here's one. Active waiting. So,
What does that
you know,
mean?
oh, you're waiting, but you're acting. Sometimes we think that when we wait, we just have to sit still, but I believe you can actively wait, which means okay, I'll oh, I have an acronym for that. But then I forget it. But sige, um, but I'll just say this: improve on yourself while you're waiting. Use the time that you're waiting to become the best gift to the other person. When we say we're waiting for someone in life, it a lot of times it becomes self-centered. I'm waiting for someone to make me happy. I'm waiting for someone
Mhm.
para maging happy na ako, para kumpleto na ako. But when you think about it, you were meant to be a gift to each other, di ba? It's not just the other person. You were meant to also give yourself and to help make the other person happy, or to
Mhm.
share God's love to that person. So, in fact, the question we should always be asking first thing in the morning is, how can I make your day better? How can I make you happy today? What can I do for you? And if you both do that to each other, it's like, wow, diba? What kind of a relationship? What a fantastic relationship that'll be. So yeah, find ways to make yourself the best gift to that person. And I think the best way to do that is to fall in love with God more. Is to
Right.
the more anchored we are in the Lord, the m- the more His love flows through us, and we don't forget that we're here to for God's love to flow through us. It's Yeah, I really believe that. I really believe that. Yeah, and I'll share that with I'll share a verse later in closing to make that point.
We're excited for that. Actively wait, Steph D. That's a advice for all of our singles right now. Okay, marami ba tayong single na nagtatanong? Brother George, merong nagtatanong. Nag-away kami. Nag-sorry na siya. Pero bakit parang di pa rin ako okay? Parang malalim-lalim ang hugot nitong ating nagtatanong. So, when nag-away sila, nag-sorry na siya, pero bakit hindi pa rin ako okay?
um, I'll answer it in the form of questions. I guess first of all, question is, have you forgiven the person? Nag Nag-sorry na siya, but you forgiving the person is another thing. That could be one reason or one thing to ask yourself. Second is, how important or how big a fight was it? Because if it was a really big deal, I think it's okay to give ourselves permission to take time to heal. My wife and I have been in fights, and we said sorry to each other, pero hindi pa rin ako okay. The next
Hmm.
day, hindi pa rin ako okay. And she'll ask me, "Oh, what's wrong?" And sometimes if I don't tell her, lalabas, sisingaw yan eh, it's gonna come out. And then it leads to another fight. So I've learned that, you know, if I'm still not okay the next day, I'll try my best to remember to tell her, "Hey, babe, I've forgiven you, and I know you've forgiven me, but I just need you to know I'm still shaken up from last night. Parang I'm not over it. I don't take it against you, but parang na ano ka, 'di ba? Parang paano ba 'yun? Think of it this way. If you fall, you get hurt. It takes
Mhm.
time for you to get over it, right? And even if it's the next day, parang, ay, I'm still,
Rattled.
it's the same. Yeah, rattled. It's the same with your emotions. We don't have to heal just like that just because the person said sorry. It
Right.
is important to be able to hear the sorry and to be able to give the forgiveness. It's very important, but don't be too hard on yourself if it takes time. Now, Bo always says that anger also has an expiry, di ba? Parang
Hmm.
pag pag isang taon na, parang you also ask yourself, di ba? No, but again, it depends on what the person did. If it was
Right.
grave betrayal, then there needs more forgiveness. My 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 community elder taught us that forgiveness is a daily decision. It doesn't mean the person has to say sorry every day, but today
Mhm.
you forgive. Tomorrow you ask yourself, have I forgiven? If not, you say it again. Lord, I choose to forgive. And if the following day you're not okay yet, say it again until the feeling goes away. A lot of times the Bible tells us to act instead of not to wait for the feeling, but to let our feelings follow. Remember, we had a talk about that a long time ago. You keep on saying you forgive even when you don't feel it, and then the feeling follows. You don't wait for the feeling to go away before you say, okay, I forgive you already. It's, I choose to forgive you. And then one day you realize, wow, I really have forgiven that person. Now, you can't
Oh.
force the other person to do that. You can only do it for yourself. That's your decision. You can share this insight with the other person, talk about it, when you're not fighting. And hopefully you can do it to each other, to forgive each other on a daily basis.
It's a great reminder. Parang love lang pala rin siya. It starts
Yeah.
with a conscious decision. It doesn't just happen. You have to make a decision to actually forgive or to love as well. We have another question from one of our viewers. Patrick Mapano says, any thoughts or tips on long distance relationships, Tito George? LDR.
Yeah, I courted my wife for 6 months, long distance. She was in New
Wow.
Zealand at the time, and the time difference was like, yeah. Ang aga ko pumasok nun, tapos uwi ako ng maaga para makapag-VoIP kami.
Mhm.
Bago pa lang yung Skype nun eh. So, yeah, long distance relationships. Okay. I think, okay, one thing we did, all right, one thing we did, although liniligawan ko pa lang siya, di pa kami, and then sinagot niya ako when she came home. And then we spent a year, again, we spent a year long distance. So yeah, sorry. I think one tip, so it's tips lang naman, is
Mhm.
be very deliberate. Be very deliberate with your conversations because you can't hang out, you can't physically be together. You're not going to be with groups, so be very deliberate with your conversations. That's what I did. Like for example, when I was trying to get to know her in the beginning of our courtship, we played games like, okay, game 10 things you hate and 10 things you love. You know, so
Mm.
this is my style. I'm not saying it's just my style. So we
Pwede namang
literally
kopyahin.
made, yeah, but we literally made lists. And
Hmm.
so ako, sabi ko, okay, number one is I can't stand, okay, or love, or I love sisig, for example. Ganun lang kababaw, pero may kwento behind it. So there's a
Mhm.
little structure, but then it brought out, um, so ako, I can't stand smoke, all right? I don't judge people who smoke, but it's the number one on my don't like list. I just can't stand secondhand smoke. It just
Mhm.
doesn't sit well with me. I can't breathe. And so there's because my dad smoked. So ang daming kwento behind it. So because we were deliberate, it kind of framed the conversations. Now, one thing I did nung naging kami na is I go, if you were to get married, hindi ko naman sinasabing sa akin for sure, but if you were to get married, sino yung magiging entourage mo? Sabi kong ganon.
Ooh.
So, because an entourage is a group of people that are very dear to you. Ang hirap kaya gumawa ng
Right.
entourage, diba?
True.
So she goes, maybe I'll make my ninong this person or ang magiging flower girl ko or bridesmaid ko si ganyan. Then, sino yun? Bakit siya?
Mm.
And you see, and we talk about, and not just likes and dislikes, but now we're talking about who's close to you, and because
Mhm.
sometimes these things don't just come up in conversations. They, unless you ask. And so I
Mhm.
think if you're long distance and you ask meaningful questions, you know, another way is, sometimes you say, "How are you?" or "How was your day?" Anong automatic reply nun? It's fine.
Keri lang, okey lang.
Okay lang, diba? And then that's it.
Automatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you could say, "Hey, was there anything that happened today that made you feel sad? Was there
Hmm.
anything that happened today that made you smile?" Pwede rin namang highs and lows, pero parang gasgas na, so you can be a little more creative. Hey, um, is there anything that I can pray for? Is always a good one because it's diretso dun sa concern. It's being more deliberate with the things you ask so that it really elicits a concrete and meaningful answer. And then it's not just, oh, kumusta, or how are you? And it can be very shallow or very, oh, tapos na, or
Routine.
fine.
Yeah.
That's it. And not to
True.
judge anyone who does use how are you or how is your day. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying that if you're more deliberate, there's a
Yeah.
higher chance that the answer will be more specific. And when answers are more specific, the conversation tends to be more meaty or meaningful.
I love
Ang
that. And
haba ng
actually,
sagot ko, no, Aryan? Sorry, ah.
but that's what we're after. The sharing your wisdom, your experience, your life stories and how you did it. And I think what you said, yung pangungumusta specifically, that I think will apply to not just people you're romantically interested in. I think pati yung pangungumusta mo sa family mo, sa ka-LG, or sa mga close friends nyo na lalo na again, here in the pandemic, na hindi pa natin nakikita face to face in a year or more than a year na. So that's a great tip na pag nangamusta ka, kunwari, uy, sis, ganyan, kamusta? Di ba dati, yung anak mo, chuchu-chuchu, kamusta na yung anak mo ngayon? So, a specific question will warrant a specific answer and will lead to a deeper conversation. So, that's a great, great tip. Since parang LDR po kaming lahat ngayon, bilang pandemic pa rin dito. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Okay, we have another question sent in. Paano po kapag yung ex ko, wala pang 3 buwan man lang, pero may iba na agad? Haha. And in the span of 4 years in relationship, he was caught cheating 2 times. Samantalang ako, hindi pa ako makarecover at nade-depress pa. How to recover from it po? And it seems nagkaroon ako ng malalang trust issues. Naku, I feel for you, brother or sister. Thank you for sending in your question. Anonymous po ito.
Before I answer, whoever's listening, sorry, whoever asked that question, if you're listening right now, I'm just led to let you know that you deserve better. And when I say you deserve better, I don't mean that another person is necessarily better than the other or that person is a bad person. We're all flawed and we all have weaknesses. But what I mean is you deserve to be loved. You deserve someone who loves you and who will die to himself or herself for you, right? I really believe we all deserve that. If we believe we're meant for married life, we deserve that. And and yeah, so yung 3-month rule, usong-uso pala yan, no? Parang parang ang dami sa internet talking about yung, dapat 3 months man lang before you go out on a date or something. I Well, looking at the question, I I can't speak about your your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. Sorry, tama no, hindi niya sinabi kung boyfriend or
Hindi niya
girlfriend, but
Ay, wait, he. So,
I
boyfriend. Gumamit siya ng he na pronouns. So, boyfriend niya yung nag-cheat. Ex-boyfriend na ang nag-cheat.
boyfriend. All right.
Okay.
I can't speak for your ex-boyfriend, but I I guess again, no. Yeah, that 3-month rule is probably there, but I I really believe in case to case. If it's taking longer for you to heal, then I think you need to give yourself permission, time to heal. But I think at some point you also have to or one thing I learned in meta coaching is it's not so much right or wrong, but does it work for you? What am I trying to say? Some people kasi might come to you and say, ano ba, ang tagal-tagal na, get over
Mm-hmm.
him. I don't think I would ever do that to someone because I'm not in your situation. I wouldn't dare to know your pain or to understand your pain. I would never belittle your situation, but I would ask you, is it still working for you? Meaning, being in that state of depression or pain and everything, does it is it still working for you? You can answer that by saying, well, right now I really feel I need to be where I am in order to move, get over it, or in order to heal. Yes, okay. But then if you really don't want it and it's not working for you anymore and it's hampering you from doing, trusting and all of that, then I think it could be a good time to start making decisions and declarations despite what you're feeling. And
Mm.
I'll go back to Bo, and it's always focus on the dream. Because the more we look to the past and analyze what happened, it's like rubbing the knife into the wound all over again.
Mm.
But then, all right, I'm hurt, I'm depressed, and this isn't working anymore. And this is what I want. I want to be free. I want to trust people. I want to be able to give myself. I want to find someone I can share my life with. The more you focus on that dream, the more you move in that direction. Okay, because we move in the direction of our dreams. Or at least we move in the direction of what is truly valuable to us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of what's really important to us. Whatever is important to you, you tend to move towards that. And if there's something that you've always wanted, but you're not moving towards it, then maybe you don't really want it that bad, or maybe you want something else more than that thing. So, I'm not sure if I'm hitting the nail on the head, but what I'm trying to say is that um, for anyone trying to get out of a situation, it's the best advice I have been given was to focus on the dream instead of dwelling on what has happened or even where you are. It's every day you say, that's where I want to go. Every day you say, I want to take one step closer towards that. And and if it's learning to trust or getting over a person, it's Lord, today I want to take one step closer to healing. Lord, today I want to take one step closer to trust. And you know what? It might not happen right away. The journey could be long or it could be shorter than you think. But be patient with yourself as well. But no matter what happens, know that God is walking with you. and there is justice, I'm not saying something bad will happen to the person who cheated on you, but there's justice for you. You were wrong. You didn't deserve that. It was wrong that that happened to you. God will vindicate you. God will replace what you lost. There's nothing wasted in God's economy. What you lost, God will say there's more of that where it came from. You lost trust. God will pupunuan niya yon, you know. You were hurt. God, there's healing for that. God
Amen.
God will never waste any moment, even the most painful or worst rejections. God will not waste that. That won't be for nothing. And I pray that one day it will even make sweeter what you will find eventually. Will make it even more precious, and you'll cherish it even more because of what you've been
Amen. I agree with that. And I'm a testament to that. So, sis, allow yourself to dream again, sabi nga ni Brother George. And there is a purpose to this and God will vindicate you. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Brother George. Meron tayo namang next question. This one is from a wife. So, medyo mapunta tayo sa area ng married couples. Okay, ito ang question. If my husband doesn't earn enough, mali po ba na i-point out ko yun? Paano siya matutulungan nang hindi siya na-offend?
through. Okay.
Finances.
All right. I think the first thing to remember, and this is not yet answering the question, but for those
Mhm.
of you who are single, um, it's very important to talk about money as early as
Right.
you can. Not just amounts, but to find how you each value and perceive money. Because if you don't agree on what money means and the value of it and where it sits in your relationship, it can really cause problems. And that doesn't mean na mukha kang pera or you're being materialistic. No, not at all. Because you need money to live. It's very basic. And if you don't see money as the same way, then you can get in trouble. And I'll admit something. In the beginning, my wife and I had very different views on money.
Mm.
And yeah, and we've uh, we've both, and over the years we've been aligning, our views, and it can definitely become a source of conflict. And so I really advise you to sit down with whoever your partner is as early as you can, and to discuss, see, Bo used to say, you can ask, what would you do with $1 million? If you had $1 million, what would you do? Or the other flip side is, if you only had this much, if you only had a
Mhm.
thousand pesos in your bank account, what would you do with it? So yung mga ganong tanong, but those are just icebreakers. Give your background. How did you grow up? How did your parents handle money? What did they teach
Mm.
you? Um, how do you spend your money? Yeah.
Right.
So that's a constant fine tuning, I think, in a relationship. Now, if your husband is not earning enough, um, look, okay, I guess the question is, what is enough? All right.
Mm.
There is not enough to survive, maybe. That's one level. The other level is not enough to sustain a desired lifestyle, which
Mm.
means pwede pa magsakripisyo. You know what I mean? That's probably the mid level. And then the third is probably just not enough in your eyes or in your opinion, all right? Or, which hindi na pag-agrihan, all right? So I guess the first question is, did you agree on what is enough, all right? Now, if it's bare necessities are not being met, um, I think, okay, I think it's okay to say it, but in the most factual way. So what how can you do it? Maybe there should be a way of checking on the finances or meeting on the finances regularly, and then you kind of bring it up there, and I'm answering this as a safe answer, because I don't know the nature of your relationship with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one thing kasi to come and say, "Hoy, liit ng kinikita mo." And the other, it's another thing to look at the spreadsheet and say, "Han, kinakapos tayo. What can we
Right.
do about it together?" And if kinakapos kayo, that's objective, that's
Mm-hmm.
factual, right? But I guess something you also have to think of is, when you say that, is there a solution to it? Now, meaning, is the solution kumuha ng ibang trabaho or rumakit? Is that possible? Or is the solution the other way? Magbabawas, simple life, or is the solution to invest and to get financially literate? Ask yourself first, what are the possible solutions? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is just me, it's not nice when someone poses a problem pero wala siyang solution. Parang, maganda sana whenever you raise a problem or point out an issue in any situation, is you have somewhat of an opinion on how to one possible solution, di ba? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you're just a complainer, but you're not part of the team, di ba? But you're a team. So is there already a solution that you're I'm not saying you have to think of the solution all by yourself, but
Talk it
is it
out.
a solvable is it and is it a solvable problem? Because your husband might have another solution. For all you know, he
Mm-hmm.
might also already be thinking about getting another job. He might already know. For all you know, he already knows. Or if he doesn't know because you're holding the purse, then yeah, then that's another way. Oh, this is the report. Ito yung nangyayari, right? So that it's not personal. That is a very safe answer, because I don't know your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe to not make it about him or the job. Now, there's so many other questions. Did he choose the job? Is he able to do something else? Is it because he's passionate about the job and he doesn't want to give it up, even if he knows? I mean, and that
Right.
situation. But if he already knows that he's not able to provide, then that kind of falls under the area of responsibility already. Now, here's another question. What did you agree upon when you got married? Is it, are you both gonna earn? Are you both gonna pitch in? Or ang usapan ba siya lang talaga?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, there's those things as well. Because for example, if you agreed na siya lang talaga, then may kalakip na lifestyle 'yon, 'di ba? As opposed to here, a lot of people will say both parents really have to work if you really want to afford this kind of lifestyle. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the, yeah. So in other words, there it has to be open. First option, if you cannot say it in a way that's directed towards him and just dead end, try to find a more objective way of saying it, and ideally have potential solutions, or ask yourself, is it a solvable thing? I imagine it is solvable, but then what's on your mind, and to say it in the most objective and loving way. Yeah.
And again, I think it boils down to what one of your top tips kanina for a lasting marriage was, which is communication. So talagang yes, you have to talk about it,
and
but in
and
in
and
those specific ways.
but let me say that if lumulubog na talaga yung bangka, and you're not, and sometimes you also can't control if the person will be offended. But if it has to be said, then it has to be said. And um I yeah. But again, it's hard for me to speak because I don't know what the
There are
nature of the
specifics.
relationship is. Yeah.
Pero I think you gave some really good advice on how to start approaching it. So thank you for that, Brother George. Ngayon naman mapunta tayo sa not married pero parent siya.
Hmm.
So medyo maluwag at malawak ang question na to. Pero I think kahit kailangan natin siyang bigyan ng mensahe. Ang tanong niya, what can you advise to all single moms during this pandemic? Or single
Wow.
parents in general? Malawak-lawak to, pero I think the person wants to reach out.
I might have to get back to you on that, or maybe I'm not sure. I can send the answer, or I don't know if that person wants to
Talk.
PM me or email me.
Mm.
But I am not sure if I have an answer to that right now because I'm not a single person,
Okay.
and I know that some single parents are struggling, obviously. But yeah, I'm not sure what
Let
it
me try
means
to
exactly.
rephrase it na lang into something sort of similar in the same vein. What can we advise to people who feel like they're alone during this pandemic
Okay.
and they're having to juggle a lot of things? And maybe they're probably feeling overwhelmed, or they are basically they're alone. They feel like they're on their own during this pandemic, and they have a lot of
Okay. Okay.
responsibilities.
Okay. 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 Very practical. Very practical off the bat is if you have time to listen to good content, while you're busy. That's probably a very quick fix and easy thing to do. We're all busy, but and I don't know if it's not gonna distract you from the things that you're doing. Put on a podcast or listen to worship music, songs that will reassure you of God's love. Ako, that's how God speaks to me the strongest is when I'm in my car and I have a talk or a song playing and God will just boom, talagang diretso sa akin yun. That works for me. It might work for you, but seek inspiration, seek encouragement, seek support, seek that when I say support, not necessarily a group, but seek the support you need internally from resources. It's very easy to find those resources now, if not Spotify or, it's just a matter of turning on YouTube. So that's one. The second thing is, I think it's very important that you find a, a companion or someone who will journey with you, whether it's a mentor or a best friend or a support group or a light group. So that's precisely why we have light groups now. And you might say, yeah, pero wala akong time, or I'm too busy to attend. Then then again, it could be just one person that you're able to ring up and talk to even while you're doing stuff. I think magaling naman tayo sa ganun, pero um, you know, nagluluto ka or naglalaba ka or naglilinis ka ng bahay, may kausap ka pa rin sa telepono. I'm answering this in the context of sobra kang busy, ah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then jump on the phone with someone and unload, or ibang iba when someone else knows what you're going through. It makes the world of a difference, even if it's just one person. Because I really don't think we were meant to do anything alone. We were meant to connect. We were meant to have community. Community can be two people. So yeah, find someone, find that support, whether it's one person or from you know from music or from input from preachers or sharers, or yeah, that's just my immediate advice or
At dahil
recommendation.
dyan, ipa-plug ko, shameless plug, I have a podcast. It's called Candid Headlines. Check it out on Spotify. Tchanan! Okay.
Taran!
Thank you so much, Brother George. Next question. Meron ulit nagtatanong. This one is in a relationship. Anonymous asks, how to resolve conflicts if environmental conflicts such as family problems and or personal goals ang nagiging reason minsan para mag-slow down yung phase ng relationship. So the person is in a relationship with someone, nagsuslow down daw yung relationship, yung phase nila because of external factors, family problems, goals, etc. How can they resolve their conflicts relationship nila?
Nag, if you mean Nagsa-slow down yung phase, meaning hindi kayo nagpo-progress or dapat ikakasal na
Probably.
kayo pero nade-delay? Is that it? I mean, if it's okay, if it's
Let's say
okay,
progression na lang para medyo vague.
okay. I guess the
General.
question is, what is the definition of progression? Because
Right.
you can use the conflicts. You know what? Everything is material. Eh? Everything is material for building. uh, Goals if you involve the other person, or goals if you share where you are, or then I mean, yes, it can be a distraction. It's like, eto, inaatupag ko muna to, I'm doing this, so I'm distracted from deepening my relationship. But then, I mean, we all need our own thing, because a partner was never meant to meet all the needs of someone. So Bo, I think, says, your partner can only meet what, 30% of your needs. You need to have hobbies, you need to have
Mm.
goals, you need to have other things in life. You can't depend on a person to fill your need. In fact, I said earlier that our objective is to try and always give love and make the other person happy, knowing that you also won't be the ultimate source of it. So I think, but if you involve or share, to a certain degree, that thing makes you who you are. That can contribute somehow to making you closer. If there are problems that you face together, any problem that you face together should bring you closer. Now, if it's conflicts about the two of you, then yes. Now, if the person is having conflicts with the family, then then are you there for that person? What role are you playing? Now, I'm saying all of this from the perspective of, in whatever situation the objective of a relationship is the journey together. You're journeying together, so you share the journey. Now, if you're finding that it's slowing things down, and you're not progressing, you're not deepening, I go back to communication. I go back to communication and bring it up with the person. Hey, I don't feel that we're progressing. Do you feel we're progressing? What does it mean to you? Are you okay with what's happening now? And what's our next move? But to love that person freely in this, because you have to be, you're committed in a relationship, but to a certain degree, you have to voluntarily give that. You know what I mean? You can't force the person to love you, or force the person to be this for you. Um, so in other words, just do a status check. Okay, you have this going on in your life. Where does that put us? Well, what does that mean for us? And game pa ba tayo? Or you know what I mean? So it goes back to communication. I hope I'm answering the
Yeah.
right.
It's very, very practical advice. And meron tayong isang question din na pinadala sa atin prior na medyo pwede na rin connected with this. Ang sabi niya, paano po kapag nega ang family mo? Paano kapag nega ang family mo sa boyfriend or girlfriend mo? So your kunwari, his or her family does not like the jowa, the girlfriend or boyfriend. Should you stay or should you let go? What if the family does not like the person he or she is with?
Okay. Um,
Teka, parang medyo na cut ang ating connection with Brother George. Oh, there you go. Hello, Brother
yeah.
George. There you
Sorry,
go.
I'm coughing. Again, I won't belittle your situation. Hindi ko
Mhm.
mamaliitin, and I dare not oversimplify and say, no, it's the two of you against the world. I acknowledge that having having family problems um can impact your relationship, all right? A family not liking the other, and that's so real, especially for us Filipinos, because a lot of us end up living with our in-laws, di ba? So to live with someone na hindi mo kasundo is a big deal. Now, let me say this, number one. If you're asking should you stay or should you go, the only question to ask is that do you love that person enough uh, to make it work? All right.
Mhm.
Do you love that person enough to make it work? So I can't tell you whether you should stay or go just because of family problems. But I believe, I believe that if both of you love each other more than, you know, whatever is causing the problem, then you can make it work. Now, it's very sensitive because do you want me to go against my family? Ang sensitive, di ba? It can be very sensitive. But I'm gonna go back again to what I said earlier that there's no more you and the other person. It's two of you together. You're one. The minute you tie the knot, siya na yung unang kampi mo.
Mm.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will fight your family if hindi nila gusto yung boyfriend or girlfriend mo. But if it's your family who is not like, I think one again, it might be different when you're boyfriend girlfriend, but once you're married, your job is to support your spouse, okay, and to defend your spouse. Again, you don't have to be antagonistic. You don't have to fight, but your spouse has to know na kampi mo siya first and foremost. So if you're saying that my boyfriend or girlfriend, their family doesn't like me, should I stay or should I go? Am I going to last? One good thing to find out is to find out is your partner or boyfriend girlfriend can you sense that they're still going to be on your side? You know what I mean? Because there's very little you can do about the family liking you or not. And even if they love you now, who knows what might happen when you get married, all these different issues come up. There will always be conflict. But the question always is, are the two of you going to be one team? So that's the first thing
Mhm.
to address. And if it doesn't look like if you can not, if you sense in your heart that mukhang di ako ipagtatanggol nito then you don't exit the relationship because of the family. You exit the relationship because that person is not on the same page with you as in terms of being one. Gets bad. That the family problem might just be an indicator or might help reveal where that person is. But the family problem doesn't have to be the main problem
Mhm.
because there are many ways to solve that. Not many ways, but first of all, yes, you if you're gonna live, but you can always choose to not live or to migrate or to whatever. You're never bound to that problem as if that cannot be the end of the world for you because you're marrying that person, not the family. Of course, you marry into the family and dala-dala niya. There's no denying that. But your obligation is to that person and vice versa. Malinaw ba yung sinabi ko? Pero,
Okay po siya. Actually, iko-connect ko siya dun sa ating susunod na question. Talking about, wait, is he the one? Do you love this person? Magiging family unit na ba kayo? And magiging one combo meal, combo package na ba kayo? You and the partner. So, meron tayong isang um, sister na nag-send din ng question. Ang tanong po niya, Brother George, pahingi po ng clues. How will I know if he's the one?
mm, um, I really believe you will know that you know when you know.
Ooh.
Well, that's what Randy Borromeo told me. And, you know, si Randy minsan lang tumama, pero yun, that's one thing I really learned from him. You will know that you know when you know. It and conversely, you will know that it's not the person when you feel it, 'di ba? Parang kasi pwedeng 9 out of 10 boxes nakatick, pero parang hindi pa rin eh. However, Bo says it's hard to find the perfect person. You have a checklist that ticks all the boxes. You also shouldn't do that because you're putting the person in a box. There's no Mr. Right. It's the person comes and you decide that the person is the right person for you. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, obviously there has to be compatibility and all of that. But hey, I know people who didn't, speak the same language from different countries, but they make it work. So who is to say na kailangan all these boxes are ticked? A lot of times it's media who tells us na dapat ganito. Which is why I'm saying at the end of the day, you'll know that you know when you know. Yes, you have these are the ideal qualities I think that I can live with or that I want in someone because it will facilitate a relationship where we can both grow okay. Pero paano kung wala yung number 9, number 10? How important is that for you, you know? But in your heart of hearts, when you're with a person, do you can you feel from your gut that siya talaga? And I'm not talking about being swept off your feet. Iba naman yung kakakilala mo lang and parang, wow, grabe ka, siya talaga. You also have to put that emotion in check. Ah, ano na ba yung pinagdaanan ninyo? Tapos lumabas yung mga kulay niya. Although marami pang lalabas when you get married, but the things, have you been together in a group? So have you been together through problems? So I think one thing also is that has that do you feel you know the character of the person well enough? Has it surfaced? So what have you been through so far in your relationship? Have you been through difficult times? Have you been through crisis? How does he act when you're with people versus when you're alone with different groups of people? Do you think he's sincere? She's sincere? So you ask all of these questions. And then after you gather all of that data, then that will, first of all, sort of on the checklist say, yes, mukhang ito talaga. But then at the end, you have to, I really believe that there will be something in your gut that tells you, aside from all of this information I have, yes, this person is the one. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry if hindi ko nasagot ng diretso yung tanong, but
Okay lang po. It's
that's
just
really how
very
I view it.
helpful. It's really helpful for
But
the people who are in that situation.
I'll tell you my situation, which is one for the books naman. All right, my wife
Mhm.
was someone I met when I was 25 and she was 18. All right, she's 7 years younger than me, and
Wow.
she was my crush from the moment I saw her. Literally from the second I saw her, she was my crush, and I would see her all the time. Crush, crush, crush. But I didn't really get to know her that well. Um, and I had several failed relationships. And then yun nga, di ba, I took a break from relationships and I finally said, Lord, I think I'm ready to share myself with someone. Then that's when she came along. And again, she was in New Zealand. So we started with email and chat. And over email and chat, I I asked certain questions, not diretso na because gusto kitang ligawan, but
Mhm.
I saw her daily activities, the way she talked about her family, her values, lumilitaw in the way we wrote to each other. And it came to a point when I said, Lord, I think this person really, from what I've seen, and this is, di pa kami nag-uusap verbally ha, email lang. I said, I think this person could be the one I've been praying for. Now, I knew her
Ooh.
family. I knew she came from a very good family. We're also in the charismatic renewal. So I think I was also old enough and I had been through enough and I had that I was finished fooling around. Not fooling around. I never cheated, but I mean, I was playing around with, you know, and I asked the right questions. I looked at the right things, and I said, yes, she's the one. And it came to a point where I was confident, no matter what I found out about her, wouldn't change my mind. So,
Mm.
so I pursued her, and I pursued her, and that's the only time we started talking. The first time we ever got on the phone was after I confessed my feelings to her through a video. And I said, can I in some of the 12-minute video, I told her I liked her, and can we explore where this could go? And that's the only time I started calling her. And when I started calling her, then we had all those meaningful conversations. But I knew from the get go that she was the one, even without getting to know her that well yet. But I knew because, no, sorry, I'm not saying not getting to know her, even if we haven't spent that much time together, but because I feel I was able to see already her character. Now, the truth is, um, we discovered so much more about each other when we were together because obviously a lot of things will surface. But I go back to what I said day one. Nothing I found out changed my mind. So when that person comes, I believe you will know it. You will know it in your heart.
You will know that you know when you know. Ganda, ganda. Thank you so much,
But
Brother George.
do the research as well.
Do the homework. Do your homework, guys. Okay, meron tayong one last question from one of our viewers right now, and then we're gonna wind up sa ating finish line. Steph D is asking, Brother George, ano po masasabi niyo sa mga mataas na standard sa paghahanap ng kadate?
Mm, okay. 1 second. 1 second.
Ayan. So guys, again, this is our singles gig. Kung hindi nyo nasimulan to, pwede nyo pa itong i-rewatch during the replay.
Okay. Sorry, is this public or is this for a small group?
It is public. We are broadcast right now through
Okay.
Feast Mall of Asia, Feast Bay Area pages, and then it will stay there. People can watch this after we have gone live.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone watching. Ako yung singles lang. Okay.
Pero singles, Mondays is usually reserved for the singles. Pero since ang topic natin ay and all-encompassing, so pwede. May mga nag-send in po ng questions din ng mga married.
Okay. Mga matataas na standard. Okay, I guess my question is, who says mataas yung standard? So, you know what I mean? Who's to say kung mataas o hindi? Again, I over the years I've come to be very objective or try to be very objective and not claim that just because I see it that way, it's the right way. It's who says it's high? Okay, that's the number one question because I think we're all entitled to what we want. You're entitled to what we want. The only question is it realistic? Number one, is it realistic? So this checklist you have or these standards you have, does that person exist?
Mhm.
Right? Does that person actually exist? And let's say that person exists. Fine. Number two is the process working for you? Are you, because you might be going through a situation or this na andyan na, then ay hindi pa rin kasi 9 out of 10 lang or 8 out of 10 lang yung sa checklist. Is this still working for you? Or are you still happy? Or, you know, but that's a status check lang. But the third question is, if you were, if you were to let go of some bullet points in those
Mhm.
standards, um, what would they be? And would you still be happy? Can you live with them not having numbers 6 and 8, pero nandun naman yung 1 to 5, 7, 9, and 10? Will you be happy? Um, there are there are there are certain things that I used to think I wanted in a life partner that do not that my wife does not have. All right. And the fact that she does not possess those qualities made me realize indeed how much I love her. Why?
Wow.
Because those qualities were actually had nothing to do with virtues or values or character. They were just like, you know, uh, for example, I used to dream that I would sing duets with my wife. My wife is not a singer, all right? But think about it. Does that make her less of a person? That's not about her person. That's not about her character. But let me say that when I prayed for someone that would help me and inspire me become a better Christian, oh my gosh, I never imagined that God would give me someone like my wife. Because as far as I'm concerned, oh man, the way she loves the Lord is just beyond me. Or I grabe talaga. It's so that is about her person. Like I 100% want my kids to be like her. Alam mo yun?
Wow.
Because I, s- I say it, I don't know if it's right that I say, but she's such a better person than me. Of course, it's not right, but we're all good, pero parang nanliliit ako at how good a person she is.
I can
That
say the
that will
same
trump.
about my husband. You're such a good person. So
Hallelujah.
we honor
And
our
that
partners. Yeah.
yeah, and that will trump all the little things that I thought I wanted in a partner.
Mm,
Diba?
right.
So parang yun nga eh. Is it realistic? Is it
Mm-hmm.
working for you? Can you give some of those up if this person came along? Would you be happy? But I
Amen.
guess we just have to, even in our list, we can also categorize negotiables, non-negotiables,
Mm-hmm.
essential, character, nice to have, yung mga ganun.
So, okay lang, Steph D. Okay lang yung may mataas na standards. Pero, tama ba yung criteria na to? Are those dun sa non-negotiables? Thank you so much for asking that. And for all of our viewers who sent in their questions, even those who sent in their questions beforehand. And of course, syempre, thank you to Brother George. We know na it's midnight, past midnight na there in Australia, but you're still here. Thank you so much. And now we are winding down to our last question, which will lead us into Brother George's last message. So, itatanong ko po na this, pwede na nating tuhugin sa inyong huling mensahe. So, Brother George, despite the conflict, despite the pandemic, especially with how dynamics have changed, how can we maintain good relationships and still make it healthy?
Okay. I think, well, again, it's communication. Because when you talk about the pandemic and what is the immediate impact? It's social distancing, it's togetherness, di ba? So you have to make extra effort to make it work. And well, again, sometimes, yeah, structure can be your friend. Structure can be your friend. Now, for example, meron kayong barkada na um you don't really you're not the sharing type or then I don't know, play a game or alam mo may
Mhm.
mga game ngayon na yung rule yung parang spin a win virtual. Nag-ano kami ni isang gabi tapos ilo-load mo yung questions. O si Aryan next. Tit, 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 tit,
Oh.
tit, 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 teng. What was the last thing you ate and why? Yung mga ganun. Pwede kang gumawa ng So you can structure it to bring out the meaningfulness in your conversation. So I don't think it's that big of a secret when it comes to, let's say, threads and all of that. But then again, the more people, you know what, having big groups is fantastic. It's great. But what do we always say in the light of Jesus? A light group is your source of support, etc. But where does discipleship happen? It's in the one to one, diba?
Mm.
The light group is essential because you need support, feeding, community. but discipleship happens in one to one. So by all means, have your group threads and have all the activities and facilitate. But at the end of the day, it's anything that you want to nurture, you have to dedicate time to. So it's and diba, you'll know what's important to you by what's on your calendar. If it's scheduled, if it's something that you've allocated time for, then it shows that it's important to you. So you probably won't be able to talk to the whole world. So healthy relationships, the first thing to do is to ask yourself, who are you going to prioritize? Because it's also unrealistic to say that all my relationships are going to be healthy, meaning
Mhm.
all the
Yeah.
well, I guess depends. If you say you only have five relationships that you want to nurture, then that is possible. But it's hard for me to say something like that when I'm a dolphin and I love having many circles. So I've accepted that in this circle, yes, masaya and everything, but I can't say that I will deepen all my relationships there. It's just not practical. It's not possible. So I have to pick and say, all right, this is someone I'll give time to. And if it's not someone I can constantly give time to, but once in a while I will go out of my way to check on this person. And sometimes that's more than enough. Minsan madadatnan mo na may problema pala and you called at the right moment and you were like, so there's this one friend I have and I felt led to message her and she was going through something and we haven't spoken in years. I probably was a source of help at that moment, but we're not going to become close until I give her a call and we really spend time with each other. People know they have an open line to me, so they can voice out to me. And but you have to first of all ask what are the relationships you're going to prioritize. Now, sometimes that may sound not nice kasi parang hindi ako yung priority mo or parang iniisang tabi mo yung ibang tao. Hindi naman. But you're just being realistic because if you spread yourself too thin also, then mababaw din yung mga, di ba? Kaya nga, you're spreading. You're not going deep, but you're spreading. So even a
Bro-
feast builder, di ba? Cannot be friends with everyone in the feast or with the whole
yeah.
team. We'll have his core group, and then hopefully that attention and love will trickle down and everyone will be inspired to have one or two people that they treat in the same way.
Speaking of feast builders, Brother George, we would like to say hello to one of our viewers right now. Migs Ramirez, sabi niya, Brother George, thank you for
No
inspiring us.
way!
Great to hear you again. Woohoo! He's
Grabe!
watching.
Grabe, Migs. Kamusta? Miss you, bro. And man,
Thank you so much, Brother George. And again, we're honoring you because despite the time difference ng Manila to Melbourne, you're still you
it's
granted
only
us
two
this
hours, by the
show.
way. Yeah.
Ah, wow, cool. Thank you for staying up late. Okay. Ito na po. See, we want to ask you, Brother George. So, what is your maybe ask for a closing message or a parting message
Okay.
for all of our brothers and sisters who are watching right now? Again, we are talking about how to maintain healthy relationships and
Okay.
let us talk to the people who are in need of nurturing their relationships, especially now that we are still in the middle of a pandemic here in the Philippines.
All right. So I just prepared a short closing message. It hit me a while ago that I felt led to share this. And it's something I've actually shared in the feast, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. But just three tips. So three tips for healthy relationships. Okay. So tatlo lang to, and it's very easy for you to remember these tips. Okay. At some point, we might flash these on the screen. But tip number one is to validate. All right. You have to validate. That's tip number one. All right. And tip number two is to validate. Okay, that's tip number two. Right. And tip number three is to, can you guess, Ariane, what tip number three is?
I
It's
feel
to,
like it's to
aha,
validate.
yes, you're correct. Very good. You have very good foresight. It's to validate, all right? Three things lang yan. Number one is to validate. Number two is to validate. Number three is to validate. What do I mean? I'm going to lift these definitions from the dictionary, all right? These are not my definitions. If if you open the dictionary, if you Google the word validate, there are three definitions, right? Number one is to check or prove the validity or accuracy of, all right? To check or prove the validity or accuracy of. A lot of the fights, again, I mentioned this a while ago in my life, especially with my wife, could have been avoided if I had just stopped to suspend judgment, if I had suspended judgment, and if I had asked and clarified. So, if ever someone says something that you don't like, if ever someone says something that you don't like, or someone says something that hurts you, this is my advice. First thing you do is to suspend judgment. Kasi mahilig tayo dun eh na, ay, ito yung ibig niyang sabihin eh. Pag sinabi mo yan, itong ibig sabihin, di ba? Try to suspend judgment first and go out of your way to ask, what did you mean by that? When you say this, what do you mean by that? Um, for example, sabihin niyang, uh, um, where are you already? Nasaan ka na? Kunyari, you were supposed to meet. Nasaan ka na? Ang dating sa'yo, kinukulit ka or chinecheck ka or whatever. But it could mean something different from the other person. It could mean the person is concerned or worried or may nakita siyang aksidente and she's trying to find out, tika, ikaw, malapit ka ba? Kasi kung malapit ka na, baka nandun ka sa You never know. There are a million and one answers to what the person could be thinking. But unless you suspend judgment and ask, you will never know. Now, after you ask, posibleng hindi pa rin maliwanag, then you clarify. So pag sinabi mo to, ibig sabihin ba ganon? You repeat it in your own words. And the person has to say, yes, that's what I meant. But if not, right? If not, then you ask again. All right, so what did you mean exactly? And then you try to say it again in your own words. You know, we all grew up in different households with different families, two parents who also grew up in different. All of that has been fed to us, and the way we grew up in our households or in our own families, the word money may have a different connotation from your partner, and and the word funny or the word baduy or the word late, sometimes the meaning of one word can change the meaning of the whole sentence. Sometimes we think this is what this word means or this sentence means, pero baka iba for the person. And we often forget na hindi lang yun yung definition. Sometimes we'll even say, hindi eh, pag sinabi mo yun, ito yung ibig sabihin. Pero hindi pala yun yung ibig sabihin para sa kanya. So, suspend judgment, ask, and clarify. It will save you a lot of unnecessary conflicts. Okay? So check or prove the validity of. Definition number 2 of validate is to demonstrate or support the truth of with value. All right. So, sorry, to demonstrate or support the truth or value of. And what do I mean by this? It's not good enough to tell someone that you love someone, you have to show it. So, in other words, back up your words with actions. If you want to have a healthy relationship, if you say you're going to call, then you call. If you say you're going to keep in touch, then you keep in touch. If in other words, it's hindi lang salita, but it's fulfilled. Now, we're all guilty of not fulfilling our word. I'll be very honest that this has probably been the biggest source of pain or in my relationships is when I do not do what I say I will do. That's definitely the biggest factor in any of my failed relationships or my strained relationships is when I don't deliver on what I say. And so I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert at it, but then I do know that if we are able to back up our actions with our words with actions, then that should lead to healthy relationships. I would imagine you guys agree. So if you haven't tried it, then try it. So that's number 2. And just as an aside, 'di ba? Parang I mean that's what God is all about, 'di ba? He is the word made flesh. So his word became flesh. Parang in the beginning, he said he loved us, but he gave us Jesus to show us that he loves us. So there is no greater manifestation than Jesus when it comes to the theory that we have to do what we say. He did not just speak, but then he offered himself. He loved people in action. And he is God's love in action. Di ba? He is the love of God, literally, physically in action. Parang God set it in action. Parang it can't get any clearer than that. And my last definition, or the last definition of validate, is to make or declare legally valid. To make or declare legally valid. And my last advice to everyone is to find your ultimate validation in God. Because if you try to find your validation in someone else, you're going to end up empty, you're going to end up disappointed. When Jesus died on the cross, he validated his love for you, and he already told you that you are worth dying for, and he would do it over and over again for you if he had to. Okay, that you are worth the blood of Jesus. You are he went to that extent to show you this is what love is, what love should be, and I do it for you. If we can come to terms with that, and that can be just be buried and drilled into our consciousness that I am totally, completely, unconditionally loved by God, we would be a happier person, we would be a more generous person, and God's love can overflow through us to our relationships. But if we seek from others what we can only get from God, then our relationships get into trouble. But if all right, so think of this Mark 12, 30 to 31, the great commandments, all right, the greatest of commandments. Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. God is first. The second is love your neighbor as yourself. You notice na nauna yung love God muna. So you connect with God and you take your love from God, and then it overflows to your neighbor. I want to close with this, 1 John 4:12, one of my absolute favorite verses in the Bible. It says, no one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. In other versions, it says, God lives in us, and his love is made perfect in us. We were meant to perfect God's love. Why? Because love needs an object. Love needs an object, right? So God had all of this love in him, and he created us as recipients of his love. But in turn, that love cannot be kept for ourselves. It has to be passed on. And it's only when we share the love of God that it fulfills its purpose and it becomes perfect. The love becomes perfect because we are doing what God did to us, doing it to others, and then maybe in turn they do it to others, and it just makes the world go round because that is the purpose of love. But first, you find it in God. So for those of you who are waiting for a life partner, get with God, fall in love with God deeper and deeper, as much as you can, so that you can be a channel of God's overflowing love to your partner, future partner, and to the rest of your world. But know that what you can get from God, you can only get from him, which is validation. God is enough for you to know that you are loved.
Amen! Woohoo! Sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon, baka pwede kayo maglagay dyan ng heart sa ating comment section. Thank you so much, Brother George. What a powerful message. And thank you for all of the reminders today and for answering all of our questions ng ating mga brothers and sisters na nanonood sa atin ngayon. At sa mga nagtanong prior pa to the show, thank you so much. Brother Didoy Lubatan would also like to extend his regards to you and appreciation. Thank you so much po, Brother
Hey,
George.
bro.
And On behalf of Feast Bay Area, sa mga lahat ng singles at lahat ng mga brothers and sisters natin, we miss you, Brother George. Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear you again. Meron tayo si Brother Sean Marcelo, isa sa mga viewers natin. Sabi niya,
Hey,
thank you,
hey,
Brother George, for a wonderful message here. It's so good to hear you again despite the pandemic, and I really miss seeing you worship leading online, and continue to pray for us po,
hallelujah.
Brother George.
Hey, Sean.
Yahoo!
I had
Grabe
a great
yan.
time, Ariane, and thank you for the privilege of serving you and speaking to you guys. Thank you, Didoy, for having me. And yeah, it's always a blessing. Sorry, Pat, I had to postpone this. I think mga 4 or 5 times because there's a lot going on also over here. But honestly, I'm really happy that we pushed through, and it's very humbling and such a blessing to serve you guys again. Miss you also, all of you.
Thank you so much, Brother George. Si Chris Vigilia, sabi ni Sis, validate. At tamang-tama, dahil dyan, we would like to validate you, Brother George. Thank you so much. It has been a great show. Thank you for sharing your mga stories, yung mga pinagdaanan nyo, your journey, and all of the lessons that you've learned throughout the years. At meron pa tayong powerful message dito sa dulo. Ang ganda. Thank you so much, Brother George Gabriel. We honor you, and we hope that you will continue to grow and prosper your relationships there in Australia, and pati lahat ng mga dolphin relationships ninyo and your various circles. We pray for many, many more years of happy marriage between you and your wife. And syempre, we pray for your beautiful children as well. Thank you. God bless you. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you, Brother George.
God bless you guys. Thanks also.
Woohoo! Grabe! Ang saya-saya. So sa lahat ng mga nandito pa at nanonood, thank you so much for still being with us tonight sa ating Monday Gathering in God. Ang galing, na-bless ba kayo ni Brother George? Type it in the comment section para naman makita natin kung talaga bang nakinig pa kayo hanggang sa huli. Thank you so much. Kung meron kayong mga takeaways dyan, i-type nyo lang dyan sa ating comment section. And right now, let me just go over some quick announcements. Ayan. Ito ang ating announcements. Next Monday, meron tayong Singles Diaries, Your Story Matters, Brother Dave and Brother Erica. Sis Erica will be here. Same time, same channel. Please stay tuned for that. And also, happy birthday nga pala kay Brother Champ, ang husband ni Sis Erica. Happy birthday, bro. Ayan. So, next week yan, Singles Diaries. And also, if you feel like God is moving you to share or to give, here are the ways that you can share your love offering. Here are the avenues on how you can do that. And also, since we're on FB, if you you can please send stars. And to those of you who have sent stars, thank you so much. Ayan. We pray that God will bless you more so that you can also bless other people more. Thank you. And of course, ito ang ating schedule for our Feast at Home Bay Area District. Sundays, we have our Feast at Home schedules, English session, Taglish session, meron tayong Mass, of course, and then worship and powerful talks by our builders. Mondays, ito yan, chinin, ang ating Singles Gathering in God. And then Tuesdays, we have Better Together. This is for couples and families. Wednesdays is for the youth. Meron tayong Feast at Home Youth and After Party. Thursdays is Biblia Konia Night. Yan ang ating liturgical Bible study. Fridays, meron tayong Feast at Home Manila at meron din tayong TGIF, Tonight God is First worship night natin yan. And on Saturdays, we have Fast Talk, Father and Son Talk Show. Si Brother Alvin at ang kanyang anak na si Ayo ay nandyan. So, every day, kung kayo ay nag-iisa at gusto nyo ng nourishment at guidance, or kung gusto nyo lang ng kasama in the background habang kayo nagtatrabaho or nasa bahay, marami kayong pwedeng panoorin. Tutok lang kayo sa mga social media pages ng Feast Bay Area. Okay, hinga muna tayo ng malalim. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really enjoyed having you here and talking to us and sending your questions and interacting with you guys. And we would also like to say thank you, syempre, kay Brother George Gabriel, and also to all of our wonderful servants working behind the scenes to make these shows possible. So sa mga prod natin at sa lahat ng servants natin working behind the scenes, thank you, thank you. And again, we honor all of our workers, lahat ng magagawa, lahat ng mga masisipag na nagtatrabaho, kung nasa naman kayo ngayon, sa Pilipinas at sa ibang sulok ng mundo, thank you so much. My name is Arian. Thank you. It has been my pleasure being your host for tonight. God bless everybody. Stay safe and see you next time. Bye!